Well, damn. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Cruising down the back roads, windows roll low, with the music blasting, bass and that flow. Remembering the bonfire, laughing with my crew, jamming on the corner, soaking up the view. Every beat's a memory, every song's a spark, feeling so alive, yeah, out here in the dark. Cranking up the radio, rolling through life, loving making memories, music cranks high. Do you feel that freedom? Can you hear the call? Those back road memories calling to us all. The dreams are still burning, laughter is the same, sound still echo loud, can you hear that name? Life was so electric, every day a song, harps on the highway, we that do no wrong. Chasing every sunset, world spin around, living for the moment, man, we're going down. I can feel that fire still burning in my soul, when nobody's watching, I crank my rock and roll. Those back road memories calling to us all. Calling to us all. Down the back road.
Roads. Oh, yeah, baby. Cruising down the back roads. Man, let me tell you. What's up tonight, guys? So, I know it's Thursday. It's 8 o'clock. What the hell is wrong with this guy? You know, I'm sure Bobby B's going to be popping in going, why? Why? And we got Franco Quaid in the house on chat. We got Jason Ewing in the house on chat. And there are more. Some people don't speak up. That's okay. You just want to look at it. Just look at it. Just look at it. Yeah, that's it. It's backwards. So we work with what we got. Now, guys, I have some really cool news tonight. I got some bad news too, but it is what it is. We can't have all of the good things. We have to have some bad things to contrast the good things. The first thing is, I'm going to wait till I get a few more people in here. But the first thing is, Slapz has got the Oblivions back in stock. The full lineup is back in stock, and they are ready to get loud and slap it hard. The price went up slightly on them, and I'm going to explain why that happened. We're still less than $300 on the subs, which is amazing considering what happened. So they're actually taking a pretty good hit on the profit margin at Slapz. So now I'm a Trump fan. Okay, I don't talk about politics very much, but I am a Trump fan. I believe that I believe that what he's doing is what's good for our country. I also believe that it's going to hurt for a while. So, and an example of that is pretty much every piece of equipment that's coming from China is getting tariffed hard. And so the tariff falls not on the manufacturer. The Chinese folks that are making this equipment do not pay the tariff. The tariff is paid by the person that's importing the product to sell in the United States. And if you say, well, screw China, I don't buy China stuff. Well, if you're in car audio, everything that you have is pretty much made in China. Korea or China is one of the two places. It's I'd say probably about 90% comes out of China. And even if the product is made somewhere else, the parts that make that product come from China. China is just where everything is produced right now. And our country's dug itself into a hole in that regard. We have been, the private business owner has been making a lot of money over the years by buying products made in China and then selling them in the United States. They can get a very good rate on them, and so they can sell them and make money, even after importing and all that stuff, importing taxes and everything. There's a lot of stuff has to get paid to import something. It's not just the product price, but also, moving it, and then the port fees and all that crap, and then shipping it from the port to wherever you go, and then all the other stuff. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. However, it isn't just their fault. I mean, like, most of our medication comes from China. Pretty much every piece of clothes that you wear, everything that you have, your TVs, your phones, everything comes from China. Like, everything. It's kind of crazy. What we produce in the United States is really basic stuff, like toilet paper and paper towels and bed sheets. And of course, a lot of that stuff comes from China also, but we produce very basic textiles and very basic products. We don't produce a lot of complicated stuff. And even if we do produce the complicated stuff, the parts we make it out of comes from China. And so all the cost incurred with tariffs is actually hurting a lot of these businesses, and some of them more than others. So having said that, in the car audio industry, that is a big deal. Now, what we're shooting for in the plan is to make it so that buying from China is not really financially doable. And then so that the person who would normally be buying from China would start buying from a U.S. manufacturer. The problem is there are no U.S. manufacturers making like 90% of this stuff. So that has to be established. And there's a lot of incentive programs that Trump is putting into place to solve that problem, okay, to help get the American manufacturers on board and building a lot of these products that we are been buying from China. But that takes time. Okay, so in the meantime, we have a steep amount of money being paid by our small business owners, and there's nowhere else to go. So they're stuck doing that. And it's kind of a stalemate right now, because we're saying, hey, China, we're putting tariffs on everything you send over here, and it's going to hurt your business. But is it really going to hurt their business? Is it going to hurt our small business owners and our other business owners, companies and corporations that build cars and build all the stuff that happens in the United States? They're all buying parts from overseas. All that stuff gets tariffed. And we don't have replacements for that. We don't have alternatives. That's the big problem, okay? So if you are a pro-Trump or not, it doesn't matter. This is the way our economy is going to go. Now, ultimately, I think it's going to be a good thing. We're going to shift to more American manufacturing, and we're going to have a lot more of the money staying in the United States. When you go to buy a product, it's not going to be, a chunk of that money isn't going to another country. It's going to be going into the United States and getting fed back into the economy. That's how the economy works. If you have a single country economy and you keep everything in the economy, the money stays there. When you have a global economy, as we do with China and other countries, then the money stays wherever, right? And as long as China is reciprocating purchases so that they're actually buying products from the United States and having them shipped to China, then that means the money comes back to the United States. What's been happening in the past for like decades is we've been sending money to China, but they haven't been buying anything from the United States, which means our manufacturing is hurting and the money goes away and doesn't come back, you see. So that's what Trump is trying to solve. And it's going to be a big, deep, nasty mess until he gets it solved. Um, it is what it is. I mean, this is where we are in the world right now. And, there's not a good way to do this. Does it need to be done? Yes, it does. And the reason is if China decided, remember COVID when that happened? You guys, I know you all remember the COVID. Oh, the COVID. Yeah, can't understand nothing because everybody's wearing a freaking mask. The problem we had, one of the big problems, and it don't get talked about much, but one of the big problems that we incurred during that was medication. Because we couldn't ship any medication from China, and we get about 80% of our medication from China right now. That is scary. If we went to war with China in any way, shape, or form, and remember, China and Russia, they're tight. You know what I'm saying? So if we had an issue with China, all of a sudden 80% of our medication would not be available, and for all of our citizens in this country. That is terrifying. Okay, I mean, absolutely terrifying. That could destroy this country. China has that right now in their hand. We've got to stop that kind of stuff. All the smartphones and the computers and all the things that we use all come from there. If they stopped the flow of all that stuff all of a sudden, sure, it would bankrupt the country, which is the only reason it didn't happen several times. But they could also shut down this country because they literally produce everything that we use. It's a tough situation, man. It really is, and there's not really an easy way to solve that. So that's what I'm talking about right at this moment. Um, like I said, I don't normally get into politics, but I think breaking this down for you guys so you can truly understand how all the dynamics of this work in a real simple form, because, you don't follow politics. You don't keep up with, world finances and all that stuff. That stuff just goes right over everybody's head because they're not following that. The fact is, though, it's really important and it's really going to affect us right now. Um, Having said that, guys, we do have good news. Um, and some of that good news is, of course, gas prices are coming down because Trump is on top of that, too. He's also uncovered a whole lot of bleeding money, fake, crappy departments that are sucking up money and it's going away and we don't know where it's going. That stuff's all getting shut down. So a lot of that money is coming back into the system and it's going to help overall. So there's good things that are happening. It's just going to be rough for a while when it comes to imports. And I'm going to show you guys something very cool. Let's see here. My brain, I have the hardest time. Brains are, yeah, my brain's messed up. So let's see here if we can find what I'm looking for. Screen. Bam. Okay. There we go, guys. They were out of stock, but they are back in stock. And we've got the Slapz Oblivion D210s and 4s and 12s. Got the 15s. The 15s are $294.99. They went up a little bit. The price, of course, had to be adjusted because of the cost incurred while importing products. That that tariff hit hard, and so Slapz had to pay those tariffs to import these products, and the price didn't go up. But you're still looking at a price that is better than the competitors for the same equipment. So we're still in pretty good shape in that regard. And the subwoofers are back in stock. You guys are interested, use CAE as your discount code, and you can pick up these guys with 10% off. So that's going to knock a chunk of money off of those prices. That'll help compensate for the raised prices. But Slapz is back in gear with the subwoofers. And of course, they've still got amplifiers in stock. We've got some discounts going on. Got the 8Ks, got a 4% discounted price. Of course, my coupon code will save you even more money. And that 8K is a bad beast, guys. That's what I'm running in my Tahoe right now. Get a little look on the inside. It is a full bridge amplifier. Very well designed, very well laid out. It's very, very extremely similar to the Sundown full bridge 8K. So there it is. Good times all around, man. Great piece of equipment. Um, so if you guys are interested in picking up some of the stuff, like I said, discount code CAE will save you some money. Uh, yeah, yeah, no doubt. I know they did, man. I know they did. So Jason Ewing says, howdy, everybody. Franco Quaid, hello, everybody. Um, and Bobby B showed up. He didn't do the why this time. He just said, yo, Bobby, what's up, my friend? Um, and the Yay area said went up almost 100. Yeah, they did. And that's actually still a good price because what his cost to import and everything went up. It almost doubled, or it doubled. So actually, it doubled plus some. I think he said two to 2.5 times more expensive to get in. So his profit margin shrunk a lot, and so yeah, yeah, it's rough, man. But they are in stock, and the price is still better than the competitors in the same bracket of quality, I think. So we're in good shape. Said you got yours before the tariff hits. Yeah, yeah. It's not bad. I mean, considering what you're getting, it's still a great price. But yeah, there was a jump, and that was just because of tariffs. I mean, it is what it is. You can't. I was explaining this to my wife, and because she doesn't follow politics or economics or anything like that, and I said, she likes to rearrange the house and she likes to do deep cleans and stuff. I was like, imagine that you took a room and you just tore it apart, right? You took it all the stuff, you piled all the furniture off in some way, saying you went in there and you just started cleaning from top down, and you're in the middle of doing all this, and somebody comes up and says, "Look, this is what Best Wife does. This is how she cleans. Look how bad everything's messed up now that she's in here doing this." She's not done. It's the process is still going on, right? Wait till the process is done before you start trying to make a judgment. Well, that's kind of what's happening right now with our situation. We don't know exactly when it's going to be done, but I think in the end, it's going to be a good thing. It's just going to be really, really hard on everybody in the meantime. So, yeah, it is what it is, man. Um, let's see here. Yeah. I said I'm a fan. Screw Sundown. Sundown. I ain't got nothing against them, but I think what happened is it's like Scar. Okay, Scar came along after Sundown, but Sundown was kind of one of the early ones to do this stuff, to really import on a large scale, and so they were able to compete with the JL Audio, the Memphis, the Rockford, the Kicker, all these guys. They were able to go in there and get ultimately better designs for loud stereo systems and get them at a lot lower price and import them in. And that became extremely popular. So the brand started out being a tailor-made bass, SPL brand, and then they kind of an economy brand because you could get really good stuff for a lot less price than you could. And then they got so popular that they became the standard, the standard that everyone else is like trying to keep up with. And of course, other companies like Scar came along and did the same thing, but they made a slightly less expensive product and they saved more money, and they were able to keep the prices down and kind of come in as a budget version of Sundown, right? And now they're doing the same thing, hiking their stuff up because they're becoming popular enough to carry their own torch. That's how that works. I mean, you start out being the undercutter, and before you know it, your name has got so popular that now you can be the standard. You can be one of the big dogs, and that's what happened. Um, nothing wrong with them. It's just this is what we're dealing with. Um, yeah, yeah, they are crazy expensive. Sundown is. I mean, it's just what it is. And is the equipment worth that price? I don't think so. I think it's good equipment. I just don't think it's worth what you're paying for it. That's my personal opinion. I think that you can get the same product or a very similar product for a lot less money. And that's why we're talking about Slapz Audio. Um, going to get stuff that's competitive with those big name brands, but at a big amount of discounts. So that's why I'm rocking with that. That's what I got in my Tahoe. That's why I'm rolling with that. Um, anybody, did it not surprise any of you guys with the economics lesson? You know, the global economics lesson. I mean, it's not. It's a lot more complicated than what I'm saying, but I think I got the gist across, and where we are and why we are where we are today. Um, I need a cigarette. So, do we have any questions tonight on anything before I continue on with this process? See what's happening over here. Who's sending me information? Uh, yeah, Alan said they got whacked pretty hard on tariffs and the shipping. So it's a lot. It's a lot of money that goes into that. If you look at the price of buying something on the other side of the ocean, uh, you'd be like, "Dang man, I can get this for $6, and you may have to normally buy it for say $40, right? That's $6 plus the shipping, plus the dock fees, and you got to buy a lot of them to get that price, plus the taxes, import taxes, plus the tariffs, and now you've ended up spending $38 on something you can sell for 40. So and not only that, but you have 1,000 of them. You had to pay. I thought had to buy 1,000 to get that price. So yeah, it can be trippy, man. It can be really trippy. Um, rip, yeah, bong rip, baby. That's it. The Yay area said good DSP inexpensive. Oh man, I haven't done enough studying. I'm not up to date on the inexpensive DSP market. There's a few of them out there. That Mart's, I think, is actually a good one. I think B2 has one over on Big Jeff's site. That's a really good deal. Let me check into that. I believe B2 dropped a couple of really badass DSPs in the price. Yes. Yes. All right. So I'll show you guys. And my coupon code CAE applies on this site. So just a heads up. Let's go over here and dig it out. That's the old one. How do I change that? I'm trying to screen share. Here we go. Check this out, guys. This is pretty sick. So B2's got a 6 input, 10 output channel DSP Bluetooth with iOS Android app. And we're looking at $154.95. So, yes, I would say they absolutely have a good setup here. And there's old Jeff talking. He's going to be talking about stuff because Big Jeff, do it. Do it. And right here, so once you buy this thing, you come to this site. You can download the Android or the iOS software right here and be ready to roll. Looking at it, we got advanced digital signal processing, 6 input, 10 output DSP, 96 kilohertz and 32 bit resolution for crystal clear audio and precision tuning. Wireless control via Bluetooth. That's cool. That's very cool. And that wireless control via Bluetooth is going to be on your phone, so you can control it with a device. You could also use a tablet. So I use a tablet as my head unit. So being able to control this with a device means I could use my tablet to control this, and I'll have access to the software, to the DSP settings, as well as being able to play music and all that stuff from the same source. So there's a way to incorporate this. You could also incorporate it into Android-style radio. If you've got a radio that you can put apps on, it's Android-style radio, You could incorporate this straight into that too, and you could have access to your tuning right there on that stereo. That's cool. So there's ways to incorporate this into a system and make it work really nicely. Compact and durable, seamless integration. I mean, it's tiny. So what is it? 4.5 to 5, 4.5 by 5 3/4 inch by a 1.5 inch form factor. That's a sandwich, dude. That's a freaking sandwich. Uh, well, not it's small for a sandwich. I'd be eating a bigger sandwich. Design audio files, car, blah 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 blah. 10 channels, Bluetooth. So you get. Let's see. I'm reading through this. I haven't looked it over in detail, so I'm reading through it to find out. So inputs 3 left, 3 right, RCA's. So input level max is 4 volts, which is about perfect for most car stereos. Output's 10. Output level is 3.5 volts, which is still fine. And a frequency response 10 hertz to 24 kilohertz. That's nice. Total harmonic distortion is 0.01, which is incredibly low. That's really good. The latency is 0.6 milliseconds. Now, if you're wondering about latency, that's important because let's say you're one of those people that want to use your stereo for tweeters, right? So you want to power your tweeters with your stereo system. And then you've got the rest of your system running through an amplifier. You may find that your tweeters are either in front of or behind the rest of the signal, and it really messes up your soundstage. That's why it's almost never a good idea to run your tweeters off of your head unit and then run your doors off of an amplifier, because they're not going to be synchronized, and you're going to hear that. You may not realize what it is you're hearing, but you're going to hear it. Now, if you're just running your factory system and then a subwoofer, the delay on that subwoofer is going to be so minimal that it won't make a difference. But if you're powering mids and then off of one, and then, that delay is going to be a difference. So in this case, they're telling you what the delay on this is, and it's 0.6 milliseconds, which is essentially nothing. So the delay is going to be very low. 32 bit rate sampling frequency of 96 kilohertz. That's the high sampling frequency, being the high setting for an MP3, the highest setting you'll ever see for an MP3, which means it's rock solid. And it does 9.5 volts to 15 volts. Now, why is that important? Because a lot of the start-stop technology in cars, whenever you pull up to a light and the car shuts off, the voltage can drop, and it usually drops down to around 10 volts whenever the car starts up again, right as you pull off. So if your DSP or amp or anything like that doesn't operate below that voltage, then when you pull off, the amp will turn off and turn back on. It's extremely annoying, and you'll want to kick puppies and punch kittens. Bad stuff. So having it be able to run at that low of voltage is good. And it's only a 350 milliamp, which is 3.5 amps of the maximum consumption. Tiny. It's about the same as a large smartphone. There's your gain setups, frequency cut. This is nice. It's a nice little setup, dude. It really is. It's got good time delay. It's got the limiter for attack and threshold. This limiter, what this does is if you have really dynamic sound coming through, the limiter can crush it, smush it. So in other words, let's say you're listening to a movie, right? You've seen this all. You guys are watching movies, and you're hearing the vocals, and they're really quiet. So you have to turn them up really loud so you can hear them. And then all of a sudden, crescendos hit, and it's like swarms the whole room because they're so much louder than the vocals were. That limiter pushes that. So it pulls up the lower sounds and brings down the higher sounds and creates a little bit more squished sandwich of sound. So you're not getting this high of big peaks and valleys. This can help a lot if you're someone who's, full to the right on the knob, because it keeps the loud bits from overwhelming your stuff. So that limiter can be very useful if you know how to set it up. If you don't know, you need to study on that, because that's a big deal. That helps a lot. These are the little things that you don't know about that makes a difference between an average car stereo setup and a really good setup. Is knowing about how to adjust and set these little functions that can make a big difference in your overall sound. Okay. Um, so we got three memories. So you got three different presets, which is great. And there's the dimensions again. Excellent write up, guys. So you can pick up, and this is B2, man. This is B2, right? So you're looking at what was it? $154.95 with a discount using my coupon code. You can knock another 10% off of that. Coupon code CAE. You can pick these guys up. So yeah, that right there solves all of the DSP issues. That you don't need a selection. Just get one of those. Just get one of those. I mean, crap. It's kind of a no-brainer. Let's see what's going on over here. There's a lot of stuff. Really good price. Yes. Running a router to Wi-Fi. I got you. Yeah, the tablet's the bomb, dude. So here's so much you convinced me to go to the tablet. The tablet's the way to go. It's just so flexible. And then once you get your tablet set up, if you ever decide not to use the tablet, you just connect your phone and you're done. I mean, you can just move straight over to a phone or any other device that uses a Bluetooth connection. You can do that, or any car stereo that has Android based stuff. You can just tie it right in. It opens up the ecosystem so much that you can do so many things. You can get a really big tablet and have a great big giant screen in the front and do all your movies and everything off this tablet. It's wonderful. Running with the MX65s with Mini. There you go. That's a good deal, man. That's a good setup. Franco Quaid said, I was going to run my tweeters off the head unit until you told me it wasn't a good idea. Yeah, it's not a good idea. Like I said, there is a delay. And every system is going to be different. Your head unit may have a delay that's the same as the amplifiers in the system. And if it's exactly the same, then your imaging won't be affected. But the delay can change depending on how loud you have the system. So you crank the volume up, you can end up with more delay on one than the other. And you can also end up with volume levels. So your hang on a second. So your head unit may be this one, right? And then your four channel, whatever, is on this one, right? And then at low volumes, or like all the way down or just barely turned up, they may be the same. But as you turn them up, one may gain faster than the other. And so it is no which. And then you can adjust that out by turning one down. If they're not going up at the same rate, right? Even if you turn this one down, it's going to do this number, right? You can't work that way. It's not going to work. They have to be perfectly matched, or you're going to end up with weird phasing issues and just a whole lot of crap, a whole lot of problems that you do not want to have. Makes tuning very difficult. The audio crafter said, "Hey, whatever floats your napkin." Don't be like these old guys that continue to waste money on those terrible brands offerings of junk. They'll barely last a year if you're lucky. Okay. And again, the brand to me is not that important. It's more about the equipment. Because anybody can slap a name on anything and call it theirs, and all you're getting with a brand specifically is the customer service and the warranty that brand offers. Anything beyond that is just a rebranded something. It's all about the customer service and the back room work on that. The shipping, the condition it's going to be, how it shipped to you, what it looks like, and the customer service, the back room stuff. That's what you're getting with a brand. You're not getting a better piece of equipment necessarily. Um, so yeah, that statement, your statement doesn't really is not really accurate. You know what I'm saying? It's just not accurate. Um, I get what you're trying to say, but it's not. I don't agree with it, not completely. Still, I do enjoy the thought though. We can talk about things, we can all learn things, and that's what we're doing. Um, Roscoe Bale says, is it possible to use an all pass filter to fix a null and frequency response? Yes, but you have to know how to use an all pass filter. And you need to know what that null is and where what source it's coming from. So if you're trying to pull a null, if you're trying to fix a null in your 6.5s or whatever, say you got the 200 hertz null, you can have the system out of phase uh, prior to the null and reducing the overall output of the frequency you're trying to do, and then at the null you have it flip back in phase until it gets a little bit higher than that null, then go back out of phase again, and you can essentially lower the output of the frequency and then pick it up with that all pass filter. So yes, you can do that, but you need to know how to do it, and you're going to screw it up a bunch of times before you get it right. The funny thing about a null is it isn't always where you think it is. It may show you may think it's a 200 hertz null, but it ends up being 150 or a 250 hertz null that you're picking up as a 200 hertz, and that gets really complicated. Like sound is extremely complicated. But the answer to your question, the short answer is yes, but learn about what you're doing and research it deeply before you jump in there, or just try it and see what happens. Save your good settings and just start trying things and see what happens. But yes, it can be fixed. Um, Chase Shife's B2 is going out of business? No, B2 is not going out of business. Um, where would you get that idea from? B2 B2 is back in business. They were kind of reduced down because of some different politics that were happening behind the scenes. So yeah, but that brand's been reinvented and re-pulled back, and they're coming at it full force. So yeah, um, Audio Crafter, a Sundown fan, got you. Jason said I was just over at Hi-Fi. So I didn't know Hi-Fi was live, or I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have tried to step on his toes. We are just talking about all the stuff, man, all the things. Um, let's see what Wet Sock has to say. Wet Sock, you want to waste your time, buy a bunch of crappy stereo equipment, hype it up on the internet, don't tell anyone, it blows up a few months later. Yeah, and I agree with that. You know what, though? I've heard enough from that. So we're just going to move along and let you enjoy your time away. So uh, there we go. Now, happy place, a happy place. So Slapz, yeah, baby. Um, everybody has to get in there and speak their piece, and I just don't have to listen to it. If you want to talk about something constructively or destructively, that's fine, but just throwing rocks, I don't care about that. And Bobby's not doing his job, or that would have been fixed a long time ago. Gonna have to talk to Bobby about that. Yeah, here it says Slapz, baby. It is what it is, man. I mean, like I can't say. I'm not talking about when I'm talking about Slapz. I'm not talking about something that I've read about or heard about. You know, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about shit that I've been out there beating the daylights out of in my Tahoe, just just giving it platefuls and platefuls of beans. I mean, I'm taking it. I don't mess around, guys. When you see if you get in my Tahoe, the first quarter of my knob is clip-free. The other three quarters, it's all full clip. I'm going full clip, full power, for 3 or 4 minutes at a time over and over again all day long. I'm sending hard clip signals to these subs. They don't care. They reach a slight warm state where I can feel it on the dust cap, just slightly warm, and that's where they stay. They never get any warmer than that. I don't know what to say. I can't say anything, but they are doing the job. You know what I'm saying? They're doing it. It's not hype. It's not bullshit. You know, I go out there right now and give it a full plate of beans, and they will just do it until I get done. So I can't say anything about it. It's just facts, man. You come and get your demos, you'll understand what I'm doing. I go full boogie on them. I don't play with them. They're not getting petted. They're not getting gentle kisses. They're getting punched in the freaking face constantly. You know, they're doing the job. I didn't really expect them to be as good as they are, but holy crap, man. So we get it done. We get it done. Jason, what's Jason got to say? Let's see here. I've only heard good things about B2. Pricey. Yes, they are. Not dumping on that. They're definitely pricey, you know, but I mean, this DSP, $154. That's less than a Dayton DSP and way better. Way better. What are you going to do? You know, you can't, what can you say? It's a 6-in, 10-out DSP with Bluetooth controls, the full spectrum, all the crap that you want for $154 from a reliable, trustworthy brand. I mean, damn. I need to get one of them in and test it. That's what I need to do. I need to get a hold of Jeff. Jeff's talking about it in this video. I don't know. But yeah, it's still cool. Oh, he's showing the app demo. Y'all want me to play Jeff's video? Let's see here. Oh yeah, brother. Jason Roscoe. I think he's the all pass filter. Okay, he's talking about the all pass filter. I don't have a DSP that can add an all pass filter. Yeah, most of, if not all, most of the Audio Dynamics DSPs do have an all-pass filter function. Another thing, if you're using a factory head unit in your system and you're getting a null, the factory head units, a lot of times they DSP in all-pass filters for different stuff. So if you switched it out and add an amplifier and you're using the signals coming out of there and you haven't corrected that signal back to a normal signal, which takes an RTA, and you got to RTA the signal going to the speaker to see if there's a null in it where they've put in an all pass filter, and then you have to RTA the output to see if the null's gone. And if that shows up, there's definitely an all pass filter being applied. You have to use a different system or a high end DSP to be able to pull that signal out and fix it all and then send it out the way you want it to. So you have to undo an all-pass filter and then continue on. And that all-pass filter may be affecting you, so you may already have one. Rick Ross said, yes, play Jeff's video. Said, go for it. All right, bet. We'll pull up Jeff. All right, you know what? Let's get Jeff on the phone. Hang on a minute. Oh, that's not what we're looking for, though. Screen. B2. Share. Right there. Okay, that did not work. I think that's it there. Okay. All right.
Okay, Jeff, I don't get it. What's so special about the DSP?
What do you mean?
Like, what do I need that for?
The DSP is like three things in one. It's an EQ, it's a crossover, and kind of like a line driver because it's 4-volt output. And then think about it. You drive with the family on a long trip. You don't want to go in there and keep adjusting bass and treble. You have a preset set to have them use.
Let's see.
Hey, it's Big Jeff coming to you with another unboxing where you get to see it, usually hear it, almost touch it before you buy it. And today, yes, B2 Audio USA in the house with a brand new item. It is called the 610. It's a 6-channel in, 10-channel out DSP that is under $200. And we're gonna go over it and the app and everything else. Hey, before I start, hit that like button, leave a comment. You can always leave another one at the end of the video. Share this out. It doesn't cost you a dime, but it helps us out with giveaways and videos and everything else. If you're watching us on one of the other social medias, you don't subscribe, follow, like. Subscribe, follow, like. Subscribe, follow, like.
What do you say? What do you say?
Subscribe, follow, like. Subscribe, follow. We have the phone casted, and we're using the Android app, which is very easy to install as an APK file. So we would just go in, open the app, which is right there, the B2 610 DSP, and bam, look how easy that was. So at the top, you see 12 volts, and that would be the voltage that the DSP is getting. You also have memory, so you can preset all types of, sorry, I'm using a phone that's gonna go off all the time. 6 memory sets. You could have easy listening, driving, demoing, whatever. Okay, very, very simple app to use, man. I love this. First option, you have in and out. So you have channel 1 through 10, and you can go in there and actually turn those channels on and off, or hit the value setting if you're trying to mix inputs. This is basically the routing right here, okay? So you see up top where it shows N1, N2, N3, right? And then you have Bluetooth. So you can actually make the channel go off of Bluetooth from your phone just by hitting Bluetooth. Really cool, or you can turn it off. I mean, just super easy, and you have all of your 10 output channels right there. It's routing. So where do we want each of the channel? And yes, if you're using left and right, then you would use channel 1 and 2. If you're only using one output for mono, you only need 1. Okay, very simple. Now we go to gain. So, I mean, it doesn't get any simpler than that. You have a main gain control that you can lock in. And then per channel, you can adjust that too. And what it's saying here is, you see the link button? That's basically linking channel 1 and 2 together, or not. So again, if we're doing left and right or mono, and then you can adjust the gain per channel while you're tuning this. So let's just say you have an amplifier on the outside speakers, and you want those a little bit more strong than the rest, whatever. The configurations are endless. All right, crossover, and this does not get any easier. You have your channels across the top. See that? Real simple. And you could do multiple channels at the same time or not. And then you have a high and low. Okay, which means you could set per speaker what its rating is, low frequency and high frequency, super.
I want to apologize. I didn't have the mic turned on. I don't want you guys to be dealing with echo and whatnot. But I like this feature. I think this feature is really good. And I think that the crossover setups look really nice. You can go in here and change the Butterworth to Butterworth, different slope styles, and you can add the frequencies here, or you can drag them around. I like this. I also like the part before this where he talked about the levels or the gains, because you can actually link them together, and then you could run, say you got your left and right doors, and then you've got tweeters, right? You could set the doors to get more power and volume is higher and turn the tweeters down. That's a good setup. And being able to set up tunes where you have the tweeters low maybe and the door speakers louder, for whenever you're wanting to crank it and drop the hammer, and then have another tune where you're going to play softer stuff with the wife in the car or whatnot, and have the tweeters a little brighter and kind of make it a little bit more crystal, and you're not going to be cranking it up real loud. So that would work good. You can have a separate tune. You know, those are all good features. Those are all things that you get with a DSP. And so far, I like the way this software looks.
Easy. You have your Butterworth, 6 dB, 12, 18, all the way. Look at it. And the cool thing on this app is nobody even knew what the word Butterworth was, or bezel, or link width. Most apps don't even have that word on.
No. That's just you, Big Jeff. You didn't know what they meant. Don't be trying to put that ignorance on other people. You know, I had to learn about it too, but you know, it is what it is. I'm just, I keep it real, guys. I keep it real. I straight up get on him. I don't care. I like my Big Jeff, but I'll get on him though. You know,
on there. Those are the type across the dB per octave settings. Super cool. And then you can actually turn, so you have a high pass and a low pass. And if you want to shut one off, you can, and then you can make the adjustment. So let's go 36 dB. We're going to turn this down. You can get in there and do your high pass settings, or go in with your finger, which what I'm doing right now. And I'm actually saying, hey, I want it from 100 Hertz, right? And then I want it to cut off at 10K, right? That's how simple it is. I'm just moving my fingers on the screen. And I can shut the crossovers off also, which means it's full range, which I wouldn't recommend to do, but you can set a high pass and a low pass frequency range on each channel, or to save, you can copy it to whatever channels you want. Okay.
yeah, I think this thing is amazing, Big Jeff, y'all. What do you think? I think he's literally being amazed at what's happening as he's discovering it. I love the honesty in his little review. He's very honest. He's just, he's like, wow, you can do that. Holy cow.
Now we're going to go into the next one. Limiter. Taramp was known for that, where you could set basically a point where it cuts off, and you can do that per channel. And I'm just hitting here. So release 1. Let me click channel 1 first.
I can't wait to hear him try to explain a limiter, guys. This is going to be fun.
And I want my threshold to be 2. And as you can see there, when I change the number, now I'm down to 1. I can make my adjustments here where to release it at. It's pretty simple, but I don't know how many people actually use the limiter on Taramp, to be honest with you. But it's a feature. And then obviously you could just set it to auto, which is really easy. I've never used a limiter before on an amp or an EQ ever.
Now, you hear that honesty? That's what I wanted to hear. That's what he's known for. I mean, he just straight up told you, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. That's what he said. And that's cool. I dig honesty. And my limiter experience is also pretty small. But I do have a little bit. Jeff don't have any. So he's shooting from the hip with this. And I appreciate the honesty. But a limiter is very cool if you know how to use it.
Okay. You have your memories here for local configuration on the phone. So let's say you wanted to save per different devices or vehicles. You can keep that on your phone and load it. All right. EQ input. So this is the input. You could either do bypass, or I could reset it, and then I can go in here with just a slide of the finger and I can adjust, and then I can go all the way to 20K and all the way down. So let's say I wanted a dB gain of 5, real simple. And I have a positive and negative on the screen. I can do it one at a time, or I can take my finger and just slide it. Look at that. Okay, now, this is just simple to use, man. I mean, I'm just...
And y'all notice how the the icon turns red whenever he gets over 5 dB of gain, and that's a very important thing. Anything over 5 dB of gain on an EQ is likely going to result in distortion. You want to keep that. You want to keep that gain down. You don't want to. Essentially, what you're wanting to do is pull down the frequencies that are too hot, and not pull up the frequency that you're having issues with. So let's say you've got a 200 hertz null, and you're trying to correct that with your EQ. Instead of pushing 200 hertz up, you would pull everything else down and get that 200 hertz on that dB line, or as much as 4 or 5 dB boost. But you don't want to go over 5, or you get into territory where you're going to start having distortion from it. So always EQ down, not up. That's the rule. And you still will have some ups, but as long as you keep them limited, keep them just small, you won't have too many problems out of that.
Sliding away here. So 20 hertz all the way up to 20 20K. All right. Next we have polarity. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped one. No, we did the EQ. Go back. Polarity, basically 180 degree. So if you have an issue and you need to put something in phase or out of phase, real simple, go to the channel, set it to where you want. And then delay for you SQ people. Or
let's talk about polarity a little bit. Phase. Why is that important? Okay. Well, essentially, let's say you have your right speaker and your left speaker in your vehicle, right? And your left speaker is right here, and your right speaker is over here. Well, whenever those sound waves are coming to your head, okay, if they were both equally distanced apart from you, they would get there at the same time. But if one is far enough back to where the wave is on the bottom when it gets to you, now you will hear the sound shift to one side, because this one will get to your head at a positive, and this one might get to your head at a negative, a null. So you're going to hear this sound, this particular frequency is going to move your head, move your listening position that way. So whatever you're listening to in front of you, your sound stage, is going to be affected by that shift. And if someone's playing a saxophone, they're getting down, they're doing ups and downs. When they hit a note that's inside that, to where that, hopefully I didn't lose you guys. When they hit a note to where it's out of phase, it's going to sound like the certain notes come from over here, other notes come from over here. Well, sometimes setting one of your speakers out of phase with the other can fix those problems without having to do a bunch of EQ work. So it's just one more tool in the toolbox to solve center image problems whenever you're trying to get that. And also nulls. Sometimes you can fix a null by flipping one side out of phase with the other. And it's pretty cool. Try it. You'll be surprised. And also flipping them out of phase may give you a natural time alignment. Instead of having to time align, you may end up, the image may go from over here to right in front of you just by flipping one side out of phase. Don't be afraid to try that. You probably will notice a little bit of bass reduction, but not always. Sometimes you get an increase. It just depends on how the waves are traveling and how far they are away and what frequencies they are and all that stuff. And whenever you're sitting there tuning, a lot of times moving your head to the left or right changes things a lot. So you have to, phase. That's what that's all about. So that's pretty cool.
Or you have speakers all the way in the back of a vehicle. You can actually change the time delay that it takes to get there. And obviously you can do it as inches, millimeters, and you guys are going to kill me. I have no clue what MS is, but I would stick to millimeter and inch. Okay, but you could actually change your time delay to make,
Jeff,
say,
MS
speakers only in the rear, keep up with the speakers in the front. Or if you're doing an SQ setup and you have like kick panels, or, there's so many options there. Okay, and then finally, we have a monitor. You can have a maximum, basically limit so nobody goes in there and messes your stuff up. And what this also means too is the voltage going out. So This is your basically what is going out voltage wise to the channels. This is simple. That is where it is. I mean, do you want more options? I don't know if you really need to, because I mean, what does the DSP do for an inexpensive one, right? What does DSP do? So it's a digital processor. It's an EQ. It's a crossover all in one. It's digital. You can set it, preset it. In this case, not really a line driver, but you have 4 volts out. So no matter what radio you use, you have a clean signal. Now, there are some real expensive ones in the $500, $800, $1,000. And yeah, you can get in there.
Get in there!
And you almost got to have a degree to set it. But for the everyday guys, just want clean music, or your bass heads that want to tune for shows and that.
Just to keep it simple.
That's how simple it is. And what more do you need? You need gains, crossovers, EQ.
So yeah, excellent review. I love his honesty. He's always dropping that, and I appreciate it. Jeff's learning about the stuff. He's in the process of learning a lot of things, and so I'm down with that. And he doesn't hide. He doesn't try to hide behind anything. So that's good. Let's see here. I know I had my mic off the first time I paused it. I caught that. Let's see. I'm so bad. So what's up? If I go ahead and say I can hear you now. Thank you. Jason, I think my biggest issue is that you control it through an app. Yeah, that's kind of a thing. If they ever stop updating the amp for newer phones, you're not going to be able to access it, so you won't be able to use it in 5 years or so. Yeah, and I agree with that, but still, I mean, we're looking at $150. Odds are in 5 years you're going to have replaced it with something else anyway. But and the other thing is, if you pull up an older phone, just use it as your DSP. Don't update crap and just let it go. It's going to continue to work. So there's that. There's options. There's ways around the problem. But yeah, I think it's a good deal. It's a really good deal. And most DSPs are going to be either on a computer and or a phone, and they're all going to have that problem. So it's not really like it's by itself in that market. It's just kind of a going thing, unless you buy something that's just got all dials and knobs and switches on it, in which case most of the stuff that has that kind of a setup right now is more expensive than this, and not as much quality. They're not necessarily as much quality. They could be. I don't know. Anyway, you have a very good point, but you can't change. Technology is just not gonna go backwards for you, and I get it. I've been bitching about touch screen volume controls forever because I hate them. I gotta have my knob, man. I don't like to have to push buttons for a volume. And I'm with you, man. I don't like it. Anyway, let's see here. Franco said they'll probably come out with a device. Use that. I don't think it's going to be an issue, and it's something we need to worry about too much. Jason says, I like having a preset focused on driver's seat and another focused on passenger seat, just so I can demo for a passenger. The other other presets can be experiments. Yeah, lots of experiments. If you mess around with DSPs much, you'll find that you do lots of experimentation. Lots and lots. That's like a thing, man, a constant thing. You're out there playing with it all the time. Bobby said, I'm back. Sorry. Yeah, you fell down on your job, Bobby. I'm going to get you. That's all right, man. I'm glad you're back. Nulls and the response are a lot harder to hear. Yes. Peaks are very noticeable for sure. Focus on them. Fixing nulls is a low priority. And it depends on where the null is, though. If the null is really, like if a null is in an area where you normally would hear something, I first learn how to listen, because like you got to get one song burned into your brain so good that whenever you hear it on a system that's not right, you notice the problems. If you don't have it burned into your brain hard to where you recognize things that are missing or too loud, then you may not catch it, because the song may just sound, you're not very familiar with it, so you don't really notice there's something not there. But yeah, you're right. Nulls are not necessarily an issue unless it falls on something that you're used to hearing, and now it's going to bother you because that drum fill is wrong or that saxophone is way too low in the mix at certain parts. You'll notice it. Um, so it is what it is, man. I've chased that stuff down all the time. An all pass filter might do something with a null. It can. And yeah, do experiment with it because it's quite cool. Messing with all pass filters is very, very fun. Um, okay, so I'm so bad. So I have a question. How did you use a tablet for my radio? I don't use a table for my radio. uh, I just play music from a tablet and Bluetooth it to my DSP, which this DSP will allow you to do. So yeah, I mean, uh, it's not hard. You can go through and put in, you can install apps to make it look like a radio. There's a whole bunch of them out there, and most of them work pretty good. I don't use any currently. I have them. I can turn them on, but I find that I just don't matter. I just run the screen. I put all of the buttons on there I want, and I just run it like a normal tablet. I got my VLC player, and I just hit it and select what I want to play. It's I don't have like the news button and the different Spotify or whatever buttons on there. So like all lined up with a radio app. You can actually get a radio app that'll pull in radio signals, not over the air, but they're over the internet. So yeah, you can do all kinds of stuff. You can also go into the settings, and you have to go into the deep settings of your device, and you can tell it whenever it sees power for the charger to come out of sleep, to wake up, right? And whenever the power from the charger goes away, to go to sleep. But it will still have a timer, like 1 minute or something like that. Then when you turn the key off and it doesn't see charge anymore, after 1 minute, it'll just go to sleep. And then as soon as you turn the key on, the power comes back in the charger, it'll wake up. You can do that. Problem with that is it works most of the time. For someone who's in their vehicle on a regular basis, driving daily, it's not a problem. But if you take a weekend off, or maybe you're gone as a truck driver, you're gone for a week at a time, you come back, your tablet will probably be dead. Because just sitting there, not getting any charge, it's just going to sit there and slowly, even though the screen's off and it's in sleep mode, it's going to slowly drain. And then when you come home, you get in it and you drive to the house, 10-minute drive, you get there and shut it off again. It doesn't have time to charge it back up. So over time, the battery level is going to slowly drop. And so it becomes, that's the problem. But I mean, it ain't hard to get around that. You just charge it up every once in a while, full charge, Franco equates, I like the songs that switch from left to right, speaker to right. Yeah, I get it. A lot of good stuff has those hard pans. They call it a hard pan. So like AC/DC. Anyway, different rock songs. You'll hear like the drums that kick off. They'll be on, and the guitar will come in on one side, and it'll play for a little bit. Then it'll come in on the other side. That kind of stuff. That's called a hard pan. But every piece of stereo music out there uses the stereo effect to position sounds in the sound field. And if you think a stereo, two speakers can't do that, you've only got two ears. Okay. They can absolutely do that. If you can download phone apps that give you a 3D effect. If you've got a decent phone, it'll actually sound like the sound is going around your head like this. And it's just coming down to two speakers on a phone. So you can absolutely do that with two speakers. And so, yeah, just more stuff, just more damn stuff. John Boy says, shout out to Bass Cat. But Bass Cat loves getting shout outs. Although I'm not going to go get him right now because he'd be in here crawling around, getting into trouble in here in my space. We can't have that. That's not acceptable. Um, you too, baby. What tablet do I use? I'm using a Verizon tablet. Um, I don't remember what it is. It's a 5G Samsung Verizon tablet, and that's all I know off the top of my head. But it's an older one. It's like 3 or 4 years old, something like that. But you could use anything. You could go buy a tablet made for a kid with like the rubber covering and all that in, and that could work just fine. Um, and especially if you're putting it in a hardcore base vehicle, it might be the better choice than what I'm using. But if you buy one through a phone company like Verizon, you can get it natively to have its own internet service, which is very cool. Because then you can play your Spotify or Amazon Music or YouTube or whatever right through your system, stream it right from the tablet, and not have to worry about hooking up a hotspot or whatever for your tablet to work. I put all my music on my tablet. I plug it into my computer, and I transfer the files straight over onto the tablet hard because the USB dongle plugged in tends to get a lot of vibration and tends to have issues after a while. So I don't use a dongle or anything like that, and I don't use Wi-Fi on it because I can't afford to run the Wi-Fi right now, or not the Wi-Fi, but the included cell phone coverage signal thing. So that's what I do. My tablet. Okay, he's finding out. This is a discovery question. Your tablet is connected to internet, right? It's not Bluetooth from phone to tablet to DSP, right? My tablet is not connected to internet unless I'm at the house, but it's not Bluetooth from phone to tablet to DSP. It's hard files on the tablet that Bluetooth to the DSP. And I'm using, that's the other thing. There's not all Bluetooths created equal. There is an HD Bluetooth available on that tablet, high bit rate Bluetooth, and then the DSP also has the high bit rate Bluetooth connection available, so I can get a very high bit rate of Bluetooth connection, which makes a big difference. But it ain't going to kill you to have less bit rate. I've used both, and honestly, there's not a lot that you hear too much. So, but there is some. You notice it. You only notice it if you do it back to back. Yeah, I mean, it's way more important to have the system tuned right and have the right equipment in place and have it tuned properly than to have. You're going to notice that way more than you're going to notice a lower bit rate or a higher bit rate Bluetooth radio wave. It's not as big of a thing as you might think it would be. So focus on getting your DSP right, getting your equipment right, and doing all those things. Those are way more important than worrying about the bandwidth of your Bluetooth radio. Yes. Yeah. Tablets are fine. On Amazon? Yeah, no problem, man. What? And that would work great as long as you can, if you want to connect it to the internet, make sure you get one that has a SIM card that you can put in it, and then it's a US SIM card. I'm trying to think of make sure that it works with your provider so that you can connect it to the internet. If you're going to use Bluetooth, you're going to use music that you're streaming, and I'm going to warn you, streaming will work perfectly fine and be flawless unless you're at a show and you're trying to give somebody a demo. That's when it won't work. Notoriously, streaming will break down the moment that you really want it to have it. It will just not work. It'll sit there. This is why I do it the way I do it. So, anyway, if you guys want to pick one of these DSPs up, you can head over to B2 Audio and get one, or you can go to Big Jeff Audio. Both places you can use my discount code CAE. I recommend that you try both because they may be a different price depending on where you go. And You can pick one of those guys up, and then you can tell me what you think about it. And in the meantime, I'll try to get a hold of Big Jeff and see if I can get one to do a review on. Jason says Soundman Doug is always using tablets. Exactly. I think he uses cheap Sony head units to feed the signal in, and then he does tablet to radio, and I just skip the radio. There's no point in adding another piece of equipment in there in the chain. I just run it straight from the tablet to the DSP, man. Just, it is what it is. But we're headed out tonight, guys. I appreciate y'all for stopping in, and y'all have a wonderful, wonderful
crushing on these tacos, we buy the fiesta. Guac on the side, man, you know it's the best. Lettuce and salsa, stack it high, make it pop. Crunch in my mouth, can't stop, won't drop. Scissor in, flavors cold is so sweet. After one taco, I'm in for a repeat. Bite after bite, got me dancing in my seat. Hitting up the taqueria, can't face defeat. Taco love in every single bite. Feeling good, every feast all night.